What's up again, everybody? I am super excited to bring you these next two games. These are gameplay commentary videos, things I haven't done in forever. This is me and Ryan playing this past Thursday. We're playing two teams that I featured on the most recent combo breakdown videos. Before we get too far into it, Ryan has rolled a terrible first turn roll for his team. He's playing the Chaos Warp and Energize combo team that I featured most recently in the combo breakdown video. Basically looking to buy Chaos Warp and a bunch of Energize characters and just kill me with burn damage, which is pretty sweet. Unfortunately for him, he's got two bolts and a fist, which are like the worst things you could possibly get, except the fact that you do have three, so he buys a Chaos Warp, which is a good call. I am playing the Thunderbird Hope Summers buy 12 Golems team, which is pretty awesome. I unfortunately only have two Amber Golem dice, which is really strange, so it's a buy 10 Golems team, but that's going to be my goal. I'm going to be purchasing as many Golems as I can because of the restrictions on how many dice you can bring per character. So I went ahead on turn one and picked up, with the 4 energy, picked up my Thunderbird, because turn 1 Thunderbird is what you want to be doing. Here on turn 2, Ryan is going to be, looks like he's going to earmark a mask, paying 3 for, let's see, a domino, I would guess? No, he's going to pay 3 for the Hope Summers, which is a good first sort of pick up first purchase. It's probably what you want to do pretty early on anyway, because again, you really do need to keep yourself from killing yourself when you run Chaos Warp. He used the mask for Cake Global to load his bag up because he didn't have a shield to use my Resurrection Global. We are running a billion globals. There's Clayface, Malekith, Professor X, there's Resurrection, there's Cake, there's just globals aplenty. So you're going to see us using a lot of different globals during this game. You're also going to notice that we're pretty terrible at these teams. This is the first time both of us have played these teams. Yes, I did come up with these teams, but no, I had not played any of them before this. So we're going to make a whole bunch of mistakes, but I think that's really, really important and really fun to watch because it gives us an opportunity to talk about how these teams are more optimally played. And if you watch the second game that I'll be uploading after this one, you'll see our play tightens up a whole ton. We get just a ton better. Here on my turn 2, I'm going to use the Professor X Global, and then I'm going to pay, looks like I used the, that's also on the team, Atlantis Global, to prep a sidekick and then also field a sidekick. Making the bag a lot smaller. There were other options there. We could have also just bought the Hope Summers and tried for a Hope Summers and Thunderbird turn 3 combo where we just buy 10 things and put it into the bag. But instead of doing that, we decided to like ramp up like crazy and roll 4 dice alongside of 3 other dice. He misses the Hope. Ryan misses the Hope here, gets the 2 shield face. He's going to also Professor X, feel the sidekick that he rolled. You don't really care about Chaos Warp on the Chaos Warp side. You kind of do want it on the 2 energy side, so that's good for him. He's going to pay a single shield to pick up one of those dice from his bag and prep it with Resurrection. Then he's going to pay the rest, the remainder of that shield and 2 energy to buy a domino. There's a lot of good energy synergies on that team. Everything is sort of sharing in the mask or shield energy types, which is really, really good. Here we're going to miss the character, the Thunderbird, unfortunately. Let's see if we can re-roll that for something that's not double fists and in fact a character face, because we would like to field that this turn. Put the purchasing power on hold just so we can afford to field it, but it does not look like that's possible. It looks like we are going to roll that as double fist, so we could buy a billion things here, which is hilarious because on this team you don't really want to buy things. You want to just get those 2 pieces out, the Thunderbird and Hope, and then buy everything for free, which is kind of the point, but unfortunately we're going to be buying things the hard way. So we field the sidekick Malekith Global with that bolt and pick up the Orbital Strike for 2 instead of 4. Orbital Strike's a fun little way to turn your physical damage into burn damage by taking all of those giant golems and throwing them at your opponent. Here we've got the turn, I think this is turn 3 or 4 now, turn 4. Hope Summers comes up and the domino comes up as well. He's going to save the mask and the shield. He rolls the Chaos Warp, which doesn't really look to do much because he's not got characters in the bag at this point. He's going to pay 2 to field both of those. Hope Summers copying Bishop, as he shows right there. If you notice on my side, I am earmarking the 2 fists and 2 shields so that I can prep a sidekick, field a sidekick, and then prep a sidekick, field a sidekick using the Atlantis Global twice. Now he's used Chaos Warp. He's rolling 3 sidekicks. All of them come up energy. Luckily, all of that damage that he would take from Chaos Warp is prevented by the Hope Summers, which is something that we actually forget a little later on. You may see us mess with the 2 D20s there at the bottom of the screen, but we figure out later that some damage that should go through doesn't, because Hope Summers is amazing. He does something that's very, very good here. He pushes with the Domino, and even though he does that slightly out of turn just because I'm allowed to use my globals before, I choose, after prepping dice and fielding sidekicks, I choose not to block it, just take the 3 damage. Drop down to 17 instead of 20 is not bad, though for him it's actually pretty good because it does put stuff into his bag. So if he doesn't draw the Domino and instead draws the Chaos Warp, then he can use Domino on the Chaos Warp turn if he plays Chaos Warp. We roll up Thunderbird. It is a great idea to keep that 2 generic and not to try to roll for Orbital Strike. You do not want to bomb your opponent with sidekicks. Pay the 2 to get the 5/3 side out for Thunderbird. So 2 of the pieces are, or 1 of the pieces is put together. We prep the Hope because our bag is empty thanks to that on opponent's turn double use of Atlantis. We had nothing in the bag. So we picked up a Hope Summers and prepped it with Resurrection that turn. Ryan's turn is shaping up to look like he rolled characters. So picked up the Domino and rolled it. And he's also got a proc on Chaos Warp if he wants it. Again, the Chaos Warp isn't doing much because there aren't many characters in his bag. He's going to reroll everything. He wants that energized damage from Domino. That card is so good. Single sidekick comes up, so that's an easy field. He fields the sidekick, fields the Domino. It looks like it's a 3/2 or a 2/2, can't tell. Pays a shield to resurrect. Pays a fist to, I would imagine, Cake Global. He does Cake, and he pulls a sidekick out, so he's just going to drop that down. It's a good churn. Not doing anything with the 2 generic. I'm going to chump block this time with the sidekick. And gives me a little bit extra ramp. With 4 sidekicks, you can afford to do that. I have exactly 4 dice in the bag, which is pretty sweet. Actually, I think I'll have 1 sidekick in the bag. Hope comes up. The Orbital Strike is completely unnecessary yet again. You don't want to actually use that until the point where you've got a bunch of golems on the field and you just need to throw them at your opponent. But of course, because he has Hope Summers, if we do use that to try and bomb our opponent out, all that damage is just negated because Hope Summers is copying the Bishop ability. I field my Hope Summers and copy the Thunderbird ability, meaning that I could technically do the combo right now and put 10 golems into my used pile, but if I do that, then I can't prep them into the bag. I guess technically I could, couldn't I? Going to instead hold off because I really, really, really want to experience the Rocket Raccoon portion of the combo. Rocket Raccoon, of course, when you KO it, it deals 1 non-combat damage to your opponent. Deals 1 to your opponent. And so if you use him and 1 of your procs, either Thunderbird or Hope Summers to KO things, then for the Fabricate ability, of course, then you would deal damage and you would be able to bring that character back once you've done it the second time. It's a really, really cool combo. He rolls the Chaos Warp, but again, not much in his bag to use it, so that's why he's re-rolling it. And I think we're pretty far into the game at this point. We're about 9 to 10 minutes into the game, and we've started to see why I believe it's important to invest in something like Kitty Pryde to just flood your bag with cheap characters, because these are all 3s and 2s, but even 3s and 2s can be tough to purchase or in mass like you want. I'm going to chump block with the sidekick. recapping on his turn, he prepped some things and Malekith out a sidekick so that he could pick up the second copy of Chaos Warp. Gonna roll up everything, and if we can get the Rocket Raccoon to land, then we could see what the full combo looks like. Of course, the damage would be absorbed, because again, I don't have a way to remove... Oh, and it doesn't come up, that's unfortunate. I don't have a way to remove his Hope Summers outside of just attacking with a lot of different things. Forcing him to block is really our only way of removing Hope Summers. So here I should be, and again, this is one of those moments where I should have read the board a little better and not gotten so caught up in doing some fun combos. I should just be using the combo right now to set up my bag with 10 golems. Instead, I am hoping to field a second sidekick or second copy of Rocket Raccoon and get that combo off, because I really want to see what it looks like. Instead, I am doing some things where I'm KOing sidekicks and picking up a second copy of Orbital Strike. For some reason, it just did not click that his Hope Summers is just going to absorb all non-combat damage. So I'm leaning hard into purchasing a second Rocket Raccoon and a second Orbital Strike when all of that is sort of moot. Again, this is just a terrible play for me and a terrible read of the board. So we could see if I suffer for it in the long run, because these purchases are very much unnecessary. Here is the sort of crux of why I like this Chaos Warp team. If you can somehow get 2 Chaos Warps in the reserve pool at the same time, and you can use one and then prep your stuff back into your bag with and there I'll take a damage, which is pretty cool. Prep your stuff back in the bag with Cake, then you can do it again. It's pretty cool. So everything goes into the use pile. He's then going to pay 1 mask to prep 2 sidekicks with Professor X Global.
Deal 1 damage, churn your bag, prep 2 dice alongside a mask. That's pretty sweet.
Thinking about paying that bolt to KO something, I would imagine. KO sidekick, pick up the last. Yeah, he's going to KO the sidekick, pick up the last copy of Chaos Warp with one of those generic energy. At the same time of doing that, it looks like he's going to Cake Global. So with the second of the 2 generic energy at the same time as picking up that Chaos Warp, he's going to Cake to put both of those in the bag. He's left with a single bolt. Again, I just would highly recommend pushing with that Domino, because you want those to cycle in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just going to keep chump blocking it, which means I have to re-roll sidekicks, or I'm going to have to chump block with something that actually matters and or let more damage go through. He's only dealt 1 damage with Chaos Warp, but the more characters he buys, the more chances he's going to have, and the more times he rolls Chaos Warp, the more chances he's going to have. Here we finally have the Rocket Raccoon, and so we're going to get to see the combo go off, I believe. This is the moment. Now, if we're counting things up, we've got 1 sidekick in the field. Looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the reserve. I'm going to field 2 of those, which means we've got 2 sidekicks left in the bag. So we can prep with Cake, and then on our opponent's turn, prep with Cake to get those out. What else could we do? We could resurrect 1, prep with Cake, and then that would empty our bag, and then prep with Cake again on our opponent's turn to take all the golems that we're about to purchase and put those in the bag. That's probably something like the best play, just to just backload our bag with only character dice. Pay the bolt to field, and then we're going to start the KO shenanigans. So we're going to KO the Hope and the Rocket, and we're going to start spinning that little dial, but it's not going to matter. Spinning the D20 does not matter. Hope's ability that first time brings back Rocket, and then KOing Rocket and Thunderbird brings back Hope and Rocket. And then I accidentally forgot which one I had put. I was so caught up with the hilarity of the combo. And then it's just going to keep cycling back and forth. KOing Rocket and either Hope or Thunderbird brings Rocket back alongside of the one that's already in the prep area. And it just goes back and forth, KOing and purchasing for free, KOing and purchasing for free. And we'll do that 10 total times. And if he did not have Hope Summers, which he does, then he would take 10 damage alongside me purchasing 10 things for free. And this combo could have gone off a full, what, 3 turns before. It just would not have done the damage because we had the Rocket still on the card. Now we have purchased it, and as long as he didn't have Hope, he would take that damage. But unfortunately, he doesn't take any damage. So all of that setup and all of that wait for the combo not to quite do what it wants. But we still have 10 dice sitting and used, and then we make a mistake here. We cake right now, and we put the cake in the used pile, and then we don't even resurrect. So yeah, we have a definite issue there. But what we can do to fix that, let's see, we could first Professor X with the question mark there, and that would put 1 in the bag, or 1 in the 1 sidekick in the used alongside all of those amazing dice. Uh-oh, we got Energize over on Ryan's side. Then we can follow that up with a cake to reload our bag on our opponent's turn. So here we have, if he rerolls both of these Chaos Warps, he's got some potential for damage. Oh, and he comes up with 1. So we are going to take an automatic 1 from the Energize now that the reroll step has ended. So we'll plink us down to 15, and then he gets to reroll that die. And it comes up double shield again. So that'll hit us down to 14, and then he re-rolls. It'll come up again, hit us down to 13, and re-rolls. Down to 12, and re-rolls. Oh my goodness. And then it comes up a character face. So it remains a threat, but now it's a threat on board instead of dealing burn damage. That's pretty awesome. That's why that card is one of my favorites of this new stuff. He's going to then Chaos Warp. It deals no damage, unfortunately. Looks like he didn't have characters there. I'm intentionally keeping Domino in the field so that that I don't take damage from Chaos Warp. Again, you want something like a Kitty Pryde. He probably should have bought that earlier in the game so that he could just flood the board with Dominoes for 1 cost and Psylocke for 1 cost. Pays 3 there for a 3rd Domino die. And then he's going to Professor X Global to put 2 sidekicks from used to prep. He's going to Cake Global. He's going to pull the Domino that he purchased, and then he's going to put that back. So I'm down to 12. I don't have much going for me except the fact that I can Professor X Global and move right along with my life. Cake Global, maybe it's only on your turn. I thought it was on both players' turn. Not sure. Looks like I just sent one of those fists to used alongside. All right, so we pull 4 dice out, and we miss. All but one of them are things not golemy. No, it looks like missed all the golems. That's sad. But we are rolling a lot of things. We've got Thunderbird. We've got what is this? We've got 2 Rocket Raccoons and a sidekick. Again, the Orbital Strike is really just going to do us absolutely no good. Paying 2 to field everything. Orbital Strike's just going to sit there, sadly. And then we'll go ahead and push with Thunderbird and 2 Rocket Raccoons, both of which are 2/1s.
Now she does not copy the stats. No, she's just a 2.
There we're talking about Hope Summers not copying the stat lines of who she copies, just the abilities. So she is just a 2/2 blocker.
I'm just thinking it through, looking at it here. So
the 2 sidekicks are going to KO the 2 Rocket Raccoons, and then my Thunderbird will stick around. All 3 of his will KO.
I think that's what I'm gonna do.
And normally in this scenario, if he didn't have some bishop-like ability that absorbs that damage, he would take damage. But again, if you see, we realized at that moment that, oh, all of that damage before was soaked up.
That's what I wanted.
So he is still sitting at 20. I'm at 12. I've got golems in the bag, but I've got to kind of hope that he just doesn't run into a bunch of Chaos Warp damage and or Energized damage. I do have his board really thinned, so he should consider rolling some of those energy results as character faces just to maintain some blockers, because you can imagine I'm going to pull 4. He rolled a sidekick. And no Chaos Warps come up. And the single shield side, so no energize effect from Domino. That's unfortunate. Yeah, he definitely wanted to scoop most of that and try to reroll for sidekicks and blockers. He's going to pick up the final Domino die. He's going to Clayface that in on the 2 shields. He's going to use one of those shields immediately to resurrect. And then he's going to pay... Wow, he's going to pay a lot. Look at that. He's going to buy a bishop. That's interesting. Going to pick up a bishop. Looks like he wants to buy character faces. And he's also going to buy a Psylocke for 2. Then he's going to pass over to me. So really at this point, we're just looking for big dudes, right? Big attackers, golems. And it looks like we pulled the other sidekick, which is an unfortunate draw. And none of the golems roll. We have 2 golems rolling in this this turn. We don't want the action face to show up. We don't really care about these Rocket Raccoons now that they can't because we realize at this point that they can't deal damage. We just want to use them as energy to field our golems, and we do roll them both golems. Important note here, the golem, I think it's the stone golem, the grayish one, has the ability to absorb a single point of damage each turn. That would normally go to me. And the Tomb Guardian makes globals cost 1 more to use, which is funny because I fielded those golems first and then used a global for normal cost. I actually asked him about if it was okay because I realized I messed that up. At the exact moment that I paid, he was fine with it. He said, "No worries, we all understand." So he understood that those golems make those effects occur, and he was fine with me using that global out of order. He lets 7 damage go through, and which is the stone golem and one of those Rocket Raccoon dice. And then he's going to reroll on his reroll step. Oh my goodness! And he lands 2 single shield sides. Oh, that's so terrible. At this point, with no blockers except the Hope Summers, oh man, it's going to be tough for him to do anything. I basically have to miss everything on my next roll. He can use Chaos Warp here, definitely, but I'm going to be rolling 4 character dice. Guaranteed. There's nothing else in the bag except golems. So I'm rolling 4 character dice. I would have to miss all of those character dice, basically, for him to survive. Maybe even worse. Maybe he's just dead on board right now. So he's Chaos Warping with the Chaos Warp that he rolled. And it does come up with, wow, 1, 2, 3 damage. So again, unfortunately, it's not as impactful as it would be. It takes me down to 9 if he had loaded his bag up. And this, I think, was the biggest choice that he made early on that could be remedied. Is loading up with like Kitty Prides and Dominoes and Psylocks. Obviously, Hope Summers. All that stuff, when he uses the effect of Chaos Warp, will go to used. And then he's going to prep some things and purchase some things. Picks up Psylocke, puts it back in the bag. Preps out a single thing after using the Professor X Global. And then he's basically just crossing his fingers that I don't roll character faces on any of these dice, because I might even just have it right on the backswing. And I do, of course, roll 2 characters, and 2 of them stay energy. And it's not even a big deal that I don't roll all of them as golems, because the golems that roll energy I can use to pay for the golems fielding costs that roll character faces. And so even just at this point, we're looking at a good chunk of damage. I'm going to re-roll the Amber Golem. See how it comes up, and I'm also going to scoop the sidekick and roll that as well. Amber Golem comes up, can't pay for everything, so it's a good thing I re-rolled that sidekick, because I can pay for the Amber Golem and the Stone Golem, and both of those just add up to 20 damage on board, even with 1 blocker. So pretty massive wall, and we could have done that a lot earlier had we just gone for the combo and read it out. Let's take a jump into game number 2, where we talk a little bit about these teams and how we could have played them better, and then rectify some of those issues. Let's see how it goes in game 2. As always, thanks for watching.